Welcome back to the channel. This is the most disturbing videos on the internet today. Let's dive in.
Who's at the very top? Who really rules the world? And I discovered it's a very, very interesting history of ancient Iranian tribes, the original Zoroastrians, and the first world Persian Empire that has controlled the world for the last 5,000 years. The interests behind the Jesuits, the entities that created the Jesuits during the Renaissance in Italy, it was none other than Alessandro Farnese, a Persian. From ancient Persia, his family came through Cappadocia in eastern Turkey, eventually to Italy, and they founded the first 10 Etruscan cities in Italy. And when those were razed, they destroyed them and they created the Roman Empire. The Pope, for instance, wears a papal tiara dome, the papal dome, which is called the papal tiara. Well, that's what men in charge of tribes in Central Asia wear. They wear those very large domed hats.
Maybe they're just different sections and they all have their agreed alliances, all evil working together. The Draco Reptilians. I even heard there's some evil people up under the Vatican, deep underground the Vatican archives. Under the Vatican archives is where they lie.
And Erik Larson is the guy that created the Simoscope, and this is when you can suddenly see how the human voice has potential to create infinitely. That with our voice, we have the potential to create everything and anything we can imagine. That we are indeed creators. And remember, every thought also has a frequency and a vibration, has a resonance, just like your voice.
That reminds us of humming yesterday.
And some of these pictures, the images of this Simoscope images tell us that it was these sounds, the images of the sound, that actually inspired religious symbols. That beautiful cross in a circle at the center of some of these cymatic photographs give us a very clear indication that the creators of the religious symbols knew exactly what they were talking about, that the source of creation is sound itself. And that takes us to what sound does. Sound pretty much does everything you can imagine because it's a source of creation. Every sound we make.
That's interesting. He said the sound was a source of creation. I believe Yahuwah actually spoke everything into existence. This could be an allegory to that.
Every sound, every letter of the alphabet has its own toroidal shape, specific shape that is well defined and well studied and well recognized. Everything manifests as a torus shape or in a toroidal field. Everything around us, from galaxies to solar systems to all kinds of things, to atoms to electrons, everything is a torus shape.
Guys, eat the meat and spit out the bones. If something doesn't sound right to you, just take it off. But something does, eat the meat.
From vowel sounds, revealing a mesmerizing symphony of energy that permeates our spoken words. The power of vowels lies in their ability to evoke unique toroidal fields, each with its own intricate pattern and energetic signature. Consider the sound of A as an example. This vowel sound generates a toroidal field that expands outward from the speaker, embracing and encompassing its surroundings. It is as if this expansive field signifies the openness, creativity, and the primordial spark of creation itself. The A sound resonates with the depths of human expression, giving rise to a toroidal field that radiates with the potential for infinite possibilities. In contrast, the vowel sound E produces a toroidal field characterized by a spiraling motion. This field evokes energies of transformation and growth, symbolizing the perpetual cycle of renewal. The spiraling toroidal pattern mirrors the inherent dynamism and fluidity of life, capturing the essence of evolution and progress. With each utterance of the E sound, a symphony of spiraling toroidal fields unfolds, resonating with the transformative power of the spoken word. Every vowel sound manifests its own unique toroidal pattern, contributing to the rich symphony of energy that infuses our language. The vowel I generates a toroidal field that radiates with focused intensity, representing clarity and self-expression. The O sound produces a toroidal field that exhibits a circular, oscillating motion symbolizing completeness and harmony. The U sound engenders a toroidal field with a constricting motion, reflecting the energy of consolidation and concentration. Each vowel.
Then Eric Larson is the guy that created the sinus.
I mean, it says literally in the beginning was the word. If you thought I didn't have an excellent specimen for you today, think again. Hee, as you're right. And malachite. Definitely a deep blue luster on this octahedral. A dark blue luster. Definitely extraordinary piece. It makes you wonder, how does something like this get formed in this deep blue rich color? What depth of cave did one have to go to find this? If I had to name this blue dark luster piece, I would call this Dark Forest Luster. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to slap that like and subscribe button. Find the bell icon. Click notifications all so you don't miss a video as soon as I post. Now let's get straight back into the action.
Have you ever seen a violet ray? You know what it is? It's a Tesla coil, basically, that has associated with it a glass electrode that, at least in its early days, was supposed to have the rare gas argon in it. And it puts out a violet-colored, high-intensity electrical current, which Edgar Cayce used to say was good for a number of problems, including baldness. And if you touch a violet ray device, or a person who is touching a violet ray device, and you can move this down 2 or 3 people and hold in your other hand a fluorescent light bulb, it lights up. And that's kind of impressive looking, to see somebody holding a fluorescent light up here, shining light out, and not have any electricity connected to it directly. And I try to get people to understand this interconnection of electricity and electromagnetism and our connections one with another. And today,
there's actually a test you can do with a fuse. All right, look, this is a regular CRT TV fuse, right? Now, the trick to this, and to show us how we're connected with energy, if this fuse works, if you tap it on your phone, you should be able to dial numbers. If it doesn't work, you won't be able to dial numbers. Check this out. You see how I'm able to press the button? Now, if it was a broke fuse, I wouldn't be able to press the button. You know, so that just shows you something about energy that works, and you got one fuse that doesn't work. You can go ahead and try this. I'll try to find the broke fuse, and we'll continue this. But let's get back to your regular scheduled programming.
the effect of touching the human body with an electromagnetic generator and how it changes the output from electronic equipment. And so we put on these little things to try to just get people to be aware of electromagnetism. There is some excellent evidence in Europe that learning is accelerated in the presence of music. It chose to use music as a conditioning tool to help people relax and get into a state in which they're programming healing. I want you to understand that we just didn't give them a tape player and send them home. We had 3 marvelous musical vibrating beds.
Not the tape player.
One of which today is now selling for $43,000. I thought it was bad when it was $26,000. The Baytar, and it is marvelous. It's got this sort of bed that hangs down in space by chains from a geodesic dome with 20 speakers in the room. It looks like a little radio transmitting station, and your whole body vibrates with the music, to say the least. The sound is wonderful, the vibration is excellent, and it's enough to put almost anybody in a trance. Person got 10 sessions of music on a vibrating bed, plus another 20 hours of the same kind of music in a room that we created specially several years ago for its sound effects. We put crushed quartz crystal under the carpet, and where in all the places there's plaster, there's crushed quartz crystal. The whole building has been energized with quartz crystal. And if you're standing in the middle of this room with these marvelous speakers going, you actually can feel the music coming up through your feet. They were given either glass or quartz, and they were told, of course, that it would be a double-blind study. Nobody would know who was getting what. It would be arbitrarily assigned, 202 people altogether. And in 3 of the groups, just to satisfy my curiosity, I just took out 2 hands full of one of glass and one of quartz and mixed them up. Nobody knew which was which. And I asked people to choose their own. It was quite interesting to me. Half the people chose glass. They didn't know the difference. And we did this in a little ceremony when they got their crystal, of passing the crystal through a candle flame and mentally releasing any stored electromagnetic energy in the crystal.
What is going on? Are they astral projecting through these crystals? What type of seance is going on here?
Programming what they wanted into the crystal. And we spent a lot of time with each individual getting them to focus on what they wanted. It had to be short, not more than 6 words. It had to have a high emotional meaning to them and an image that they could build with it. And then they would create the image and the words in their minds and will it and blow out into the crystal 3 times in a row. And then the crystal was worn in a white satin, bridal satin pouch around the neck. They were to reprogram the crystal every morning for 2 weeks minimum. We chose 8 pieces of music. Obviously, we could have left the music open, but arbitrarily I decided that we would restrict the music to 4 classical pieces and 4 New Age pieces. The New Age pieces that we chose were Stephen Halpern's Spectrum Suite, which is specifically intuitively created as music to balance the chakras. And each person then had multiple experiences with their choice of music on the music bed, in the music room, and when they finished, they had agreed to program their crystal and to use the tapes a minimum of 20 minutes twice a day, that's all, for a minimum of 3 months. That was the agreement when we started the research project. I don't think I tried. I was neutral. I really did not believe. I had no faith that crystals would be any better than glass. I knew that music conditioning and electrical stimulation transcranial, which they got every morning while they were at the clinic, just 10 days of that.
Or otherwise known as MK Ultra. They getting MK Ultra with these quartz crystals and don't even know it. They MK Ultra with quartz crystals, y'all. That's what's going on here. Talk to me.
I knew those things had to be good for people, but I didn't know whether crystals were any better than glass. And so I think I was as neutral as a person can be. The results, I'm going to refer to my notes so I don't make any mistakes about it.
I thought he looked familiar. This is the type of dude that was controlling Winter Soldier, you know, on Captain America. Bucky.
Here are the statistics. The depressed people got more quartz than their fair share. 88 out of 141 depressed people got quartz and only 54 got glass. Of those who got quartz, 70% were still free of their depression 3 months later. That's phenomenal odds. Those who got glass were hardly a placebo, only 31%. Less than half as many. And yet, when we did the statistical analysis, even that was highly statistically significant. In other words, if you look at the changes in their scores, the conditioning program and the electrical stimulation all in itself helped some people with depression. But adding the quartz crystal was phenomenally better.
So if we gonna hit you, this ain't funny, y'all. If we hit y'all with this MK Ultra with quartz crystal in tune with the MK Ultra, we might be able to do something for you. Entertainment purposes only. Don't come for me. Keep your head on a swivel.
I still have trouble believing it, but it's what we got. The back pain people, and these are all people with very significant back pain problems, 55% of those who got quartz were markedly improved in their pain. Only 23% of those who got glass were markedly improved. That's
For entertainment purposes only, do your own research on everything.
negative placebo response. Even that was statistically significant at about the 95th percentile. You know how statistics are. You can do anything with them. But the real difference was the quartz crystal compared to everything else. The chances of this happening by chance are less than 1 in 10,000. That's not bad. How many of you have ever seen a violet ray? You know what it is? An old... Yeah, it's a...
They were hitting them with a violet ray charged ion quartz crystal MK Ultra version 9. You feeling better? Oh, not yet? Turn up to 13. Oh my goodness. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What is going on?
There is a solution that we make, and we've had to use it in this last episode that we've had to correct the radiation in our system. And that is to take a quart. Now write this down because this is a formula. 1 quart of distilled water. Now why do we use distilled water? Because it absorbs and pulls out all these elements that are foreign to the physical well-being of our body. In that, you take 1 teaspoon of soda, 1 teaspoon of sea salt, and stir it till it's thoroughly mixed. Divide that into 4 doses. Now, your first dose, then drink the next one every 2 hours until you have taken the 4 doses. And your system will be pretty well cleaned out. Now, when you compare the bath to that and put them together, you'll be surprised at the results that you get.
For the bath, how much do I install?
1 pound each. Now, if you're taking a straight soda bath, make it about 2 to 3 pounds. It is the unburned carbons in this fuel that takes the oxygen out of the air and out of your bloodstream. The arterial blood has no oxygen to carry to every other cell in the body. Even the birds are falling out of the air because they have no oxygen to fly with. Now, I have talked to one of the head men at Sandia, who's in that department, and he said, do you know the condors are falling and we don't know why? I said, no. I didn't know they were, but I know they will fall because the large birds require more oxygen than the smaller ones. But it had already been happening. Our government knows about it, but they don't know what to do about it. Go to your kitchen. Pick up a package of soda, baking soda, and it will neutralize all of these energy flows that we have. But it isn't dignified enough to be used in the professional field. That's why I'm interested in getting this information to you, because it is handy. We don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. And you know, I found another thing. Money don't grow on trees usually.
Definitely interesting theories on baking soda. Who knew it could be so powerful? Object appears to submerge in the ocean at a considerable speed near the Gulf of Mexico.
What in the hell is that? Did you see that? Oh my god! Oh my god, it just went straight to the water. It goes left. Oh my god. It goes left. Hold on. Where'd it go?
I still see glowing in the water.
You can see the turbo thrust pop off on the right side as it goes straight into the ocean. Could this be an unidentified submerged object?
The Arrival, the movie. A bizarre black ring seen spotted over Kansas. This is May the 7th of 2025. Kansas, in the sky, you all. Bonner Springs, Kansas. You see it? The movie The Arrival. The Arrival, the movie.
I actually haven't seen that movie. Do you guys recommend it?
And we're running out of water in 2020 because it was really warm outside. And the book, The New Water for a Thirsty World, is a great one to debunk the whole water, running out situation. And then also the primarywaterinstitute.org with the unlimited primary water that's underneath our feet. It's interesting because there's a lot of people making videos now showing water coming out of trees and out of the earth and all different places. And people are realizing we're never running out of water.
Oh, yeah. I love it. People are waking up. They're seeing the truth. Look at that. Water just gushing from it. Unlimited. Straight up the middle. Where's all this water coming, you ask? From the great deep. I feel like you can almost drill anywhere, and it just matters how deep you drill for you to eventually to strike water. Look at that. That's coming out the side. Unbelievable. I love that stuff. This is right up my alley. I can't get enough of looking at these trees and seeing this water.
If we set a glass of water or any container of water in a ring, the water immediately begins to emit light. You can't see it with the naked eye, but it can be measured with various instruments. And we find full visible spectrum as well as ultraviolet being naturally emitted from the light under stimulation by this energy field.
The other thing I do, I use my tools on energizing water, and that's absolutely fantastic. My energy level has gone up tremendously.
Since we are light bodies and all of our communications within the body takes place through electrons or photons, the amount of photonic energy in the body is increased. Consequently, the energy level of the body is increased. So drinking water potentized with a ring has quite beneficial effects in both short and long term.
I love the rings, and I have big rings underneath my bed, and I sleep over them. So I have them along the chakras, and I find that just helps me sleep really well. I also love the little rings that I can wear as bracelets, as if I have a long day typing at the computer, then I'll often put these on my arms, and I find that it just really helps me remain calm, and I've never had any repetitive stress injury or any problems that are associated with a lot of computer use.
I use it on my food as well. I put the food on a plate and that on top of the rings I find with fruit, for example, and I had some friends round and I cut up some apples and some pears, and after a few minutes, these apples, they go brown. Well, my friend Jackie came round and she said, hang on a minute, how long have these apples been on the plate for? They're not going brown. I said, I know. They're on these rings. So it's fantastic. They seem to give extra life force, energy, and, as we're made out of water, we're mainly water, it has a wonderful effect on you.
If we set a glass of water or any container of water in a ring, the water immediately begins to emit light.
In 2020, a dusty wooden fragment stored in an old cigar box within the University of Aberdeen shattered one of the longest-standing assumptions in archaeology. This forgotten relic, a small piece of cedar wood, wasn't just a misplaced antiquity. It was the missing component of a trio of enigmatic objects known as the Dixon relics, found inside the Great Pyramid of Giza in 1872. Its rediscovery, followed by radiocarbon dating, offered a result so shocking that it forced both skeptics and Egyptologists alike to pause. The wood, sealed in a narrow shaft in the Queen's chamber, inaccessible since the Great
Hey, this got me worried, y'all. What's going on here?
Pyramid's construction, dated not to 2500 BC, the traditionally accepted date of Khufu's reign, but to a staggering 3,341 to 3,094 BC. This discrepancy of over 5 centuries suggests something few have dared to propose openly. The Great Pyramid may be far older than mainstream Egyptology admits. More than that, it may not even have been built by the Egyptians we know, but by a civilization lost to time.
I'm not denying that satellites exist at all. I'm saying that they don't work as described to us by NASA and other space agencies. Satellites are like satelloons. From my understanding, these satelloons can stay up in the air for about a year to 2 years, but everything that goes up must come down. Like, you seriously just think that there's hunks of metal the size of cars and things like that, tons of weight, and they're just floating in perfect orbit around the Earth, and some of them taking pictures of galaxies quadrillions of miles away? Like, if satellites were up there, why would Google? Satellites, more like towers. Here's your local satellite repairman. But I don't know if you're aware, but they say that they can track everything in low Earth orbit that's going 17,500 miles an hour, apparently. And, you just gotta see it for yourself. As you're watching this animation, because that's all this is, I want you to keep in mind that the Earth is apparently spinning, orbiting, and chasing the sun. How is gravity deciding to keep these satellites orbiting the Earth at 17,500 miles an hour when we're told that gravity constantly pulls things towards center mass? Some of these satellites weigh more than cars. So why isn't gravity pulling it back down? Like, genuinely, you've just got to critically think. Like, all of this is just tagging along with the sun going 500k miles an hour, 4.9 billion miles a year, 4.4, somewhere around there. And Polaris stays in the exact same spot. Time to wake up. Like, they've really got you guys just believing they've got technology to remote control a satellite from 365 million. Guys, satellites aren't orbiting the Earth as much as Antarctica is in a continent. And this is for everybody that's been wanting pictures of the Antarctic wall. Here you go. Also, just Google satellites in space. Don't expect anything real. Seriously. But also, how are some satellites deciding to geostationarily orbit the Earth? That's right. They're claiming some satellites can stay over the same general piece of land as they orbit, and some satellites do geocentric orbits, polaral orbits. Like, how? Where's the engines? Like, how are they deciding which way to go? If you're still on the verge, tipping over, is the Earth flat or is it a ball? All you have to do is check out these missions. My favorite one, Operation Fishbowl. They tried to blow up the firmament, but obviously were unsuccessful. God created it. You can't break the firmament. I'm not denying that satellites exist at all. I'm saying that they don't.
Sataloons. That's hilarious. Sataloons. That's a new one. Make clouds disappear with your mind.
Cloudbuster was biased by grounding the cylinders down into the ground. And when you pointed all this array of cylinders up at clouds, you can actually suck the ether out of the clouds and pump it into the ground, and the cloud would dissipate. It turns out that concentrations of ether are hygroscopic. That means they will collect moisture. So that's why when you see clouds going over, they're actually concentrations of the ether. Actually, reverse bias this effect, or you can do it mentally by visualizing concentrations of ether up in the atmosphere, and you can create clouds. And this is one of the experiments that a lot of people that get into metaphysics do, is they can create their own little cloud structures up there. The trees themselves form a grad-E structure, and they're resonant with the frequency that flows across the surface of the earth. He drilled holes in the tree, put accelerometers in the tree, and measured the waves going between accelerometers as the sap flowed up the tree and over a long period of time. And then he analyzed the frequencies that occurred from this and was able to derive the frequencies that drive the tree. And turns out they're all correlated with a lot of other information. It's a shape power effect due to the ring structure of the trees. These are the stainless steel tubes I had out here. It's some stainless steel tubes, and they're configured concentrically. And a voltage is applied between the inside and the outside. And this is where you get your grad-E effect. I'm showing these inside and outside cylinders emphasized. They put the ground here for the, you can either do it either way, but most of the experimenters are grounding the center cylinder, and you put your 12 volts out here. Well, what this does is it creates a mild grad-E field between it, and what you have is it starts concentrating ether, and then when you've got water in here, it traps the ether into the water and gradually charges up the water. Now, the health effects of ether-charged water is it increases the amount of bioenergy, or the ether available to a person, which results in increased health, because if you got more energy, you know your body functions better. Cylindrical shapes concentrate the ether, so an ether trap such as water could be used to collect ether charge. Drinking the water would then enable the person to absorb the energy. And one of the things that Schauberger came up with is that spinning water in a vortex will increase the ether charge. And this is easily accomplished. You don't have to go buy one of these $2,000, $3,000 fancy copies of the Schauberger device. You can get a standard laboratory stirrer off the internet and get a magnet to put inside of it, and you can charge your own water. Electrical charge in the water.
I've seen that. I've worked in places where you had to place a beaker in there, and then you put, like, it looks like a pill, but it's a magnetic pill, and then you spin it because it has to spin for a certain amount of time, you know.
Is due to ether concentration and is forcing the atoms to pump out more electrons. Now, this is the little lab stir. I built it myself. So then when you spin the motor up, it spins this magnet and causes a vortex in the water. Well, the vortex sucks the ether in this thing and charges the water up. And you can actually, if you're sensitive, can feel the charge as it builds up around the lab stir. And I've got an ion detection unit, and I can detect the electrostatic field out here.
We need that ion detection unit, you know, so we can see is the water getting electrically charged, say if we did want to do that.
And I can detect the electrostatic field out here. It builds up, you know, up almost to 10,000 volts.
10,000 volts in your water. That's nuts. But it makes sense. We're electrically charged beings. We would need some electrically charged water to fuel us. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you made it this far, go ahead and drop Theoretical Thursday. Ooh, Theoretical Thursday is the code word for today's video. Man, I'm going live today over on Jet Ski Chuck. So be sure you head over there and check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do some reactions together, do some deep dives. It's been a while. Nickelback. It's been a while. So we're going to get back to it. get back jumping in the submersible and hopping in the jet ski. Don't miss none of the action. With that being said, this was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you tomorrow.